Oh, there we go.
All right, there we go. All set. We're going. Up and running. Welcome everyone to the August 21st, 2024 meeting of the Cohasset School Committee. Call the meeting to order with 3 members present. All members present, please indicate so in roll call. Mr. Carr.
Present.
Ms. Leskey.
Present.
And I am present as chair. Ms. Hannah and Mr. Dial are not present, but we do have a quorum to proceed, so we will. Would all those who are able, please stand for recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll start with public comment. This portion of the agenda is reserved for any members of our live audience or our virtual audience to raise any concerns or issues or questions that they might have that are related to issues other than those issues that are listed on the agenda. So if you have a concern or question or something a point to raise relative to something on the agenda, just simply wait until we arrive at that point in the meeting. There is no one in the audience other than our invited guest. So I will just turn towards I'll give a few moments for folks to utilize the Q&A feature on Zoom to make public comment if they'd like. And you won't be able to do that on Facebook, only on Zoom. Facebook will allow you to view the meeting, but not participate in it by asking questions. Not seeing any, so we'll move on. And so at this time, I'd like, and if you do have a comment, and you just didn't get there in time, just plug it in and it notifies us and we'll get to you, we promise. So we'll move to our invited guest, who is our brand new principal of our Joseph Osgood School, Amy Gaudette.
Hello.
Please come on up to the table so you're a little bit closer to the camera. Folks can see you. Turn the meeting over to our superintendent, Sarah Shannon, to introduce our new principal.
Thank you. So, yes, very excited to welcome and introduce Miss Amy Gaudette to the Cohasset community. Amy joins us. She has a wealth of experience, having recently relocated from California. She served as an elementary principal in the Newhall School District there for a number of years, where she fostered and nurtured a dynamic learning environment. She has played several roles in schools, everything from a teacher to an instructional and pupil services coordinator, to a coach, to the director of induction for new teachers in her district. And when she moved here, she was an assistant principal in the Weymouth Public Schools. Amy started on August 1st, and she's been very busy since her first day. She's been learning the building, she's been learning the schedule, she's been learning the staff, she's been learning the ins and outs of Osgood. She's been meeting with Alex Sullivan at the Deer Hill and Dr. Scollins, learning more about the curriculum. She's been meeting with parents. I've been over there and seen her engaging with families and students as they've come in for some tours. We have some nervous kindergartners who are about to start, and she's been down on the ground hanging and getting to know the kiddos. This weekend, actually, on Saturday, Amy's going to be hosting her meet and greet for families. She's combining it with some community gardening and a picnic lunch. So starting at 10. So I think the gardening is from 10 to 11, and the lunch is bring your own from 11 to 1. And so very excited to welcome Amy. She has been a hit with everybody. I've heard such positive feedback as parents have had the opportunity to meet with her and other staff has been able to meet with her. And I'll talk a little bit later about the ice cream social, but she was by far the most, famous person at the ice cream social. Everyone wanted to talk to her and we were all just sort of there. So welcome, Amy. We're excited to have you and to be able to work with you.
Thank you. I feel very welcomed. I've been just welcomed with open arms by the staff, the community. It's been a fabulous experience so far. So I look forward to a great year.
So,
all right. Any comments from the school committee members?
We're so glad you're here. It's just we were worried to find the right person, so we're very glad that you're here. It's kind of a tribute to the fact that we have a great school district, that people have options in their career, and we generally find that they find their way to us, and we're very happy for that. So welcome. Glad you're here.
Ms. Leslie, anything to add?
Welcome. I had the privilege of meeting Amy earlier through the hiring process, and I'm just so excited that you are here for us and we are here for you. I think it's a great match, and looking forward to all the joy that you will bring to Osgood. And you know, I also I'm sort of taking on the fame by association. I saw one of my neighbors as a first grader. I was like, oh, you're a new principal. She's really cool. So, yeah, I know her. I met her already. So you know, we're all part of the Gaudette fan club. Fan club.
We're all very fortunate to have you. I think your experience speaks for itself. And I think we're fortunate that the timing brought you to us at the time that we needed a replacement for a beloved principal there, Joseph Osgood, Elisa Farrell. And, you know, already great feedback from the parents, and you haven't even started yet, right? So with you know, the kids in school, obviously. Yours is an incredibly important position because you are the principal for the building that hosts not only our youngest learners, but also, you know, children of first-time public school families a lot. So you obviously play a huge role in guiding them through that process as they enter the gateway that is Joseph Osgood into our wonderful school system here in Cohasset. So we're excited to have you, and we hope that you're as excited to be here. And we're looking forward to all kinds of updates and wonderful feedback as we get through the your first academic year with Cohasset. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right, so just move right into school updates, unless there's anything else for Ms. Gaudette. Anyone have anything?
No, I was
Okay,
just.
Ms. Gaudette, do you have anything else to say, or you?
You're welcome to hang
All
around
right.
if you're
Thank
bored.
you
If
again.
not,
Yes,
There
yes.
are a couple of things I wanted to listen for on the agenda. So
You can run ahead.
Stay as long or as little as you'd like.
I'll take what's fine.
Okay, but it's not a test. You don't have to. You
Yeah.
can salvage a Wednesday night if you'd
Understood.
like.
Thank you very much.
So at this point, we'll get into some school updates and turn the meeting back over to our superintendent of schools, Ms. Sarah Shan.
Thank you. So I've only been here about a month longer than Amy, but it's been a really great entrance into the district. I've been enjoying the summer and the opportunity to engage with folks through the onboarding process. I've been able to host some open forums for families and staff, small crowds, but still the opportunity to talk with some people, which has been great. And people have been taking advantage and coming in and meeting with me one-on-one, which is really a nice way to get to know folks and hear their experiences. I've been asking a lot of questions like, what's working? What would you like to see potentially shift within the district? And really, what else should I know? And they've been very forthcoming and really complimentary about the district. What I'm learning really quickly is that, and I already knew this, but it's being reinforced that I'm really entering into a wonderful district. And that there's so many things that are going right in Cohasset. And there's things that we can build on to continue to grow, but there's a lot of great work happening, students and staff alike. So that's been great. I did go to the farmer's market. I got a little rained out and had to leave early, but I'm going to try again tomorrow. I have a table this time and a tablecloth and maybe some pencils. So if anyone's there with their kids, come say hello. I think that would be a fun way to get to meet people. This summer, I've also had the opportunity to attend 2 conferences. The Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents puts on a conference for superintendents and assistant superintendents every summer. And I was able to attend in early July, and that was a great way to network and to also just get caught up on what's, you know, happening in schools right now across the state. And then I was able to attend a conference with Dr. Scollins and our MECO director, Elisa Gittens-Carl at William James College. The conference was on the surface about diversifying staff, but really it was about creating cultures of belonging for students, staff, and families within our school community. And the keynote speaker was Greg Singleton, who wrote Courageous Conversations. And that presentation was really powerful. And the entire 3 days really gave me both the opportunity to learn a lot more deeply about the district, but also an opportunity to really get to know Leslie and Elisa. And we had a really good time together, and we did a lot of work and learned a lot. And so I was grateful for that opportunity. And Desi actually sponsored that opportunity at William James. And so it was a free event to the district that we were happy to be able to take advantage of. After that, we held our very first leadership retreat with me in the district on August 6th and 7th. And we were grateful to the South Shore Art Center, who allowed us to use a beautiful art space in their building to do our work, and to Vinny, who fed us and kept us nourished so that we could accomplish all of the work that we had to do. A longtime mentor of mine always shared with us that there are no new team members, there are only new teams. And so we really took that approach to the 2 days that we were working together in our work moving forward to create a new team, and what our working agreements will be, how we'll work together, when we'll meet. And I think throughout the 2 days, we did a really nice job of accomplishing a lot that needed to be accomplished in terms of getting ready to open school and creating new goals for the year that will bridge us from a just completed strategic plan to a new strategic plan. And we had a lot of fun getting to know one another. You know, I said fun before, but there was a lot of joy. There was a lot of laughter. And I think as you're creating a new team, all of that is important. Being able to balance the joy with hard work is something that I strive for in a team. And I think we did a nice job accomplishing that. Last Thursday night, I referenced, we hosted our back to school ice cream social, and we had Dells and Nona's, and we had Safe Harbor there, and the PSO and the CEF, and some high school students from National Honor Society who were there to do some face painting and some fake tattooing, I throw the word fake in there, of some of our younger students. And it was just a fun day. We had music, we had beautiful weather, we had families on the front lawn of the middle school, and kids kicking soccer balls and running around and rolling down the hills. And it was a good way to kick off the year. But like I said earlier, Amy was the star of the show, and we were just there to support her. But that was great. And so maybe we're also thinking about next year how to grow it and engage some of the high school kids, and maybe running some games and things for the younger students as well. We did end up feeding the football team and the field hockey team some ice cream after they practiced as
Very
well. So
excited
that
for
was,
that.
they were very happy to be invited over. And then I just want to, even though they're not our students anymore, we have a lot of families who are sending their college students off to school in the next few weeks. So just want to wish all of those students well, and wish all of their families well, whether they're headed off to work or college or the military. It's a time of change in all families, and having just gone through it, I have a soft spot for all those who are feeling those emotions right now. So great start to the year, and looking forward to next week, actually tomorrow. Dr. Scollins will mention it, our new staff is coming in. Then next week, all of the staff. And then on the 3rd, our 1st through 12th graders will be joining us. And then the day after, our kindergartners. And then on the 9th, our pre-K students. So we'll have a full house in a matter of days. So it's very exciting. That's why we're all here.
All right, well, thank you very much. Some nice updates and some nice thoughts. Thank you very much, Superintendent Shannon. Any questions or comments relative to the school updates from any committee members? You can just make them at will if you'd like.
Just seems like we left off just very recently, and now we're back at it. Fabulous. Great news.
All right, well, we'll just move right on to the academic updates, and we'll turn the meeting to our Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Leslie Scollins.
Great. Busy summer, long summer, but a busy summer. We had lots of teachers doing work over the summer. We usually do, but we had grade 5 teachers working on social studies and readers workshop, and they created some really amazing lessons and units and pulled them all together to integrate those. We worked with Situate last year and implemented and had some professional development with the Department of Ed on investigating history which is a program that is, it's open source, so that means it's free. But that is, right now it is 5 through grade 7, and they are working on grades 4 and 3 right now. So it's amazing. And at the same time, Jim Willis, who's the department chair for the social studies 6 through 12, he's actually working with our 5th grade team along with the middle school and high school, and looking at how we're going to align and how are we making sure that our kids are writing and what are they writing and how are they writing. So it's just unbelievable. So that came together really nicely. The document they sent was fabulous. And then our Deer Hill reading specialist worked with TLA all summer long on creating units or lessons related to response to reading. And connecting that to our units, because that's really something that we're focusing on. We've been talking about that we need to focus on writing. So there's several things in action right now that we are working on. So that is an amazing thing. And that'll be rolled out actually with the Deer Hill staff on the 29th. So TLA is going to come in and do a presentation for them, kind of share it with the reading specialists. And then we also had their middle school teachers. They have been implementing Open SciEd. We had a really large grant last year, lots of new materials. We have 2 dishwashers in thanks to the grant now. So it makes it much easier for teachers to take care of all the materials they need to do. So they worked really hard and did training over the summer. We sent them to training. And so I give them it's a lot for them to do that. It was all part of the grant. We were able to do that, but they also give up their time during the summer. So that was amazing. And we also this summer we made sure that everyone had access to the iReady for our students in coming in like 1st grade, not kindergarten, but 1st grade through 5th grade. And then there were students in the middle school that had been using it. So in math, and so they continued to have that opportunity to use it. But we also invited some families in if they would like to kind of be monitored by our specialists. We just tried something out. I'm not sure of all the data yet on whether it was successful or not, but they kind of just checked in with those families. They opted into it. And so we were hoping that it would just help a little bit with that summer slide that can happen for some students. So I'll let you know how that is when Rock gets back and we have some data to talk about it. Yesterday, we had our safety meeting with police, fire, IT, facilities, custodian, and leadership team. And it's always good to get together, make sure that all our protocols and safety procedures are in place. So that was really helpful, and look forward to all our cooperation with them. And we'll continue to have meetings throughout the year. I think we talked about having 4 meetings, but it's just nice to have everyone at the table and all working together and brainstorming about things that we need to do to improve or continue to keep our kids safe. So that was a really great meeting. And we have a new website, which is really exciting. So I'm going to share my screen. I want to give a big thank you to Lisa Portalisi, Geraldine Ballard, Cassie O'Brien, Adam Sasso, and Andy Ayers. They have been working on this all last year. And then Lisa really took hold of it this year for us because it was not a smooth transition at all. And they did an amazing job. So I just want to show you the website. And it will continue to grow. We are being very conservative with it because we want to make sure it's what we put out there is good. We do apologize if there's little glitches here and there because we're still learning how to use it. There it is. And so it's definitely a more dynamic resource than what we had in our previous website. And it still has all the features that you had before. That has the district calendar up here because I have to move some things so that I can't really see, I think, but right over here underneath where it says Cohasset Schools, that's where the schools are. It's a drop-down menu. And then all the things are there, all the schools. If I were to, you can easily use this on your phone. That is another reason that this is a really nice website. And so Andy Ayers was out one morning at 6 o'clock. He took beautiful pictures of all the schools. And so we will continue to grow it out, but parents should be able to navigate it fairly easily. And if there's any problems or questions, they can reach out to Lisa Forlisi, and she will make sure that she helps you out. So that is, I don't know if anyone has any questions about the website.
Okay, great. Well, are those, first of all, those all the
I have
sort of academic
quick
initiatives?
more.
Okay, so,
Quick,
right, so
sorry.
before we get into any questions specifically, we'll just
Exactly.
wait until all the
Um,
updates in case.
So new teachers. So they're coming in. We have a 3-day induction program with them. We have 6 new teachers joining us, which is really exciting. They'll be here tomorrow. They'll be here Monday and Tuesday. And so this is our way of acclimating them. There are some kind of basic things that we have to do. Technology comes in and sets them up. They have benefits, conversations with town hall. But we also really do a lot of nice things to make them feel like community and get them set up. They meet their mentors. And the CTA has always partnered with us, and they're doing it a little differently this year, which I'm really excited about. They'll be having breakfast, provide breakfast instead of lunch, and we're going to co-facilitate some of the meeting in the first part of the day, so they see us as partners, because we are, and they have a new person this year, a liaison to the teachers from the union, which they've never had before. So I'm really excited about that. And one of the things that we do is we take them on a tour. So we'll do that on Monday. So I'm going to invite anybody who wants to join us. Well, not out there, but anyone here, school committee. Otherwise I'll have a line there. But we take a tour and we take them on the bus, and we take them on a tour around Cohasset because they're not all from here. And this year I reached out to the Historical Society and said, is there anyone who might want to do this? And our own Glenn Pratt is going to come, and he is going to give us a tour. So I am so excited. I think leadership is coming. I know that Superintendent Shiv's coming.
I'm coming.
Amy's going to be there. So I think a lot of people are going to be on there. So if you want to come, it's 1 o'clock on Monday. If you want to join us, and we'll be meeting up on the back loop. That will be the bus, or out in front of our office. I'm not really sure. I haven't talked to it yet, but it will be here, which is wonderful. And then, as you know, our staff starts on the 28th, and it'll be a great day filled of, team building and being excited to be back here. We have some Title IX training, new regs that we have to go over, and then we always have our safety training that first day and all the procedures and protocols, so all people know what we need to do if anything were to happen. So we're all prepared. So that's it. We're just excited. I just want the kids back in the building. It's always nice to have a little bit of quiet time, but summer sometimes gets really lonely because kids are supposed to be in our buildings. It gets exciting. So that's it.
All right, well, thank you very much, Dr. Scollins, for all those nice updates. Are there any questions or comments for Dr. Scollins? That includes folks that might be watching as well.
I would just say, so if nobody's met Glenn Pratt, you don't have to look far to understand his family's been involved in Cohasset town government for a long time. And there is no one better that can give a tour of this town than Glenn Pratt. And so we're very lucky to have him do that with us.
I couldn't even believe that his name popped up.
Yeah.
I reached out to Katie Hold, and she got back within, I don't even think it was a day, and said, Glenn said he would do it.
He's terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really wonderful.
Really great.
Yeah.
A special treat.
It is a special treat.
Question about the access to iReady. Did you have a name for that program to prevent summer slide?
Oh, it was iReady. No, it was just kind of a check-in to help and encourage students on being on the program. So they should be on it for about 40 minutes each week.
Were those children already identified through MTSS? Okay. And so this was just an additional offering. I think
And
that's-
so anybody
I think
could
that's
do it.
lovely.
Yeah, anybody could, you had access to iReady. If anyone wanted to do it, that was fine. It's just that we thought we would invite some families in where students had been identified as being at risk, and we wanted to see if we could prevent a little bit of that summer slide that can happen. So, yeah, so we'll see what how families felt about it and what our data looks like, and see what we can do.
Was that option generally disseminated to the school community, or just to the folks that were
No.
identified as maybe
The whole community knew that they could get into iReady.
they did? Okay.
Yeah, so that was all, that was broadcast. to
How did we
everyone.
do that email?
We did they put it in their newsletters and sent it out. So yeah, so we sent those pieces out. I do think there was a letter too that came from the principals with just a reminder of how to do it. And then,
Is this at the end of the year they would have done this?
yeah.
Okay, so that's what, there's so much going on that I wonder if we should maybe after school ends, a couple weeks later, sort of send just that out.
Yeah.
So that, because some parents might be interested and taking advantage of it. And I feel like I didn't even realize that
Yeah.
because there's so much coming out about like end of the year events at the end of the
Yeah.
school, and then, everyone's finishing up, trying to work summer camp. So it may make sense. I mean, like, it sounds like the folks
Yeah.
that we were most concerned would have access to it were probably directly communicated with a little bit better, but like, I don't know,
Yeah.
as a general resource, it might be something we can consider, like, in this 3 weeks in the summer, hey, if you want your student to
Yeah,
a little
here's
bit
the
more
opportunity to. yeah,
exposure to
just-
some academics over the summer, here's an easy way to do it.
Yeah,
It's not 40 minutes a week is not a lot, right? Kids can probably tolerate that. pretty
yeah,
well.
and it's, if you did 40 minutes for reading, 40 minutes for math.
Right.
Or, whatever those,
Yeah.
whichever your choice is.
Yeah,
And then, yeah, I happy to do that. It was our first year doing it, so we weren't we just kind of blasted
Sure,
it
I'm
out
just-
and we were curious.
yeah,
But I think thinking with getting feedback as to, one, did you know about it? And then what can we do to make sure you know about it, to make it easier? And did a check-in every other week or every week help keep your child engaged in it? For those particular students that we had already identified, and we're getting services throughout the, getting kind of
Yeah.
extra support. So I'll be curious if we
just
can-
more of a suggestion than just like
yeah.
a criticism. I don't know, maybe we can, actually like, and Jen was asking, is there an actual name for it? Like, maybe
Yeah.
we
No, we don't have.
can
a
do
name, but
something, maybe there's some sort of credit or
Yeah.
contest you could have for the kids that do, just time.
I know, we wondered about that too. We always.
I mean, it's the first year out, so,
Yeah, because we used to do reading, they would have kind of reading challenges and, you'd get a handful of kids that would come in and say they, and got a
Right.
pencil or whatever. And so we haven't found the secret sauce for that one yet, but
Right.
we hoped that maybe this would be good. So I think what you're making me think too, we didn't think about asking the broader community if because we can tell if kids accessed it. So we were gonna pull that data to see, but I think maybe even asking parents, sending out a quick little survey.
it might be
what you
something to
think
do, it might
about
be
it.
something,
Did you know about it?
I can
Like
see
all that
it,
kind of stuff,
I can see
right?
it assisting our teachers hitting the ground running if we can get sort of like a broader adoption of that, like in say August.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know, it's just, you got me thinking as you were talking about it.
Yeah.
And it could be, it sounds like a fairly easy lift for the kids. No one wants to do, if you're in 5th grade, you don't want to do schoolwork in the summertime. But this might be something that if we can sort of, I just feel like it might help us get over, shake off the rust a little bit, in
Yeah.
September. I don't know, it could be an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, well-
I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, we
Thanks
ran
for
it
the
during the same window of ESY, so I had teachers do that,
sure,
then, and then, in the middle school, students had been working on it. We're working with the math specialists, so handful of students, because the parents had to opt in, because I didn't want the teachers sending emails to parents who didn't want their kid. No, it's not that they didn't want their kids to do it. They may have had vacation plans or whatever, so they weren't going to be able to participate. the same way.
Right.
So, yeah, no, I think there's lots of opportunity to grow it, and it's just like you said, a nice way to just engage kids over the summer, and it does rain sometimes.
yeah. So, and I
And you're
don't,
looking for something to do.
maybe something that we can put some more thought into as we
Yeah.
progress through the spring semester this year, who knows?
Yeah.
All right, anything else?
I would just add too that from our our newly formed leadership team, I'm so appreciative of the sort of enthusiastic anticipation that you both expressed for this coming school year. And the fact that you are going to share that with all of the other educators coming in just feels really wonderful. It's palpable. So thank you for sort of bringing that energy into the district and into the school for this year. It just feels, hearing lots of great words like collaboration, partnership, and I just think that it's wonderful. And excitement for all these little ones who are about to step through all sorts of thresholds and run amok. So
Yeah,
thank you for that.
Kids are why we're here.
exactly.
All right, well, thank you, Dr. Scollins, for that update. We'll move right into the budget resource and governance section of the agenda. Miss Owen, our Director of Finance and Operations, is not here tonight, but that's okay because I don't think we had much of by way of a robust budget update. We do, however, have a budget-related item to discuss. And in order to discuss that, I would like to invite our superintendent to introduce us to this concept.
Thank you. So recently, myself and Chair McClellan and Mr. Dial met with some of our nurses about some ongoing struggles we're having with finding nurse substitutes. We had a really good discussion and recognized the need to do some additional work to build a stronger pool of substitute nurse candidates. Nurses are essential to our schools. We can't function without them. They provide needed health support for many of our students who have chronic health needs. And they help with all of the other things that people think of when they think of school nurses. And they help the students who come down with a tummy ache, but it's really not a tummy ache, no matter how old they are. It's about something more. It's about a grade that they're anxious about or something that happened at home. And our nurses are often the first line of defense when that happens. And though we often think of our nurses as superheroes in our buildings, they are human as well. And so there are days that they need to take care of things with their own families, and they get sick. They are with the kids who are coming in who aren't feeling well, and sometimes those germs get passed along. And so there are days where our nurses are out, and we do need to have someone in the building who is licensed to take care of the medical needs that arise. So we talked to them about two different things. And we talked to them about the idea of finding a contracted nursing service who can serve as emergency sub-nurse availability if the need arises. I had a conversation with an agency this week. They are working on a potential plan that we could contract with them for, where they would potentially provide emergency nurse service as sort of a backup for us. It's an expensive endeavor if we go that route, and we may need to have them at the ready in case we can't get a sub nurse. But the other thing we talked to them about, to our nurses about, is our daily sub rate for our nurses. It's something that is important for us to discuss because nurses can make a lot of money in other districts and if they did per diem work in an ER. And so to entice nurses to come here and sub in the Cohasset district, we need to have a really competitive sub rate. So with Ms. Owen's help and Ms. Ballard's help, we did a little bit of reconnaissance with area sub rates for nurses and found right now we are at about $160 a day for sub nurses. And that is not the lowest, but on the low side for area nurses. Hull, Hingham, Marshfield all pay $175 per day. Hanover actually pays $35 an hour, which equals $227 a day for a 6.5 hour day. Norwell is just a little bit above us. They're $165. Duxbury is a little bit lower and they're at $150. I think that to support our nurses and to have the coverage that we need for our students, my recommendation to you is that we increase our sub rate to something between $180 and $200 a day. I think that would help us sort of eke out over some of the area schools that are currently getting sub nurses and entice them to come to us instead, but not go so far over the top that, you know, we're paying more than what we should be paying. So I would open that conversation to you all, but I think that's sort of the sweet spot for us is between $180 and $200 a day.
Okay, thank you very much for that introduction. I would just add that because of the, you know, level of frequency that this need is implicated, it's not an overly huge budgetary item or allocation, but there is sort of from time to time a very acute need for it. You know, nurses need to attend field trips often. They have to be able to, there has to be coverage in a building for those students with chronic conditions that need to have someone there. And so it's a consideration that we can't overlook. And we had a really constructive meeting with the nurses and CTA representatives. So That is why we're bringing it to the committee. So I would just maybe ask for your, I don't know, your input on this, maybe in alphabetical order, Mr. Carr.
So I think it's a great idea. I think equitable throughout the district as we think about pay is a good idea. We've had, before you were here, we've had some issues that we worked through the nurses and the unions about this matter. It would be something that we should probably coordinate a little closer as we talk about collective bargaining. So it might be my recommendation that we, because this can affect collective bargaining, that we maybe talk about that in whatever manner everybody is comfortable with. But I like the idea, and I think it's important that we have a solution for things that we've had challenges with in the past. So, and then a question, have the unions weighed in on this?
So we met with the nurses who are part of the union,
Yeah.
and Carolyn Crimmins, who is the president of the CTA, was in that meeting with all of us
Okay,
and with them.
did they have an opinion?
Yes, they wanted to have us raise the sub rate to increase our sub pool.
Okay.
So this is really in response to their requests. They are very much in favor of this.
Okay.
So, Mr. Carr, just if I may interrupt, it
Yeah.
sort of goes along with what your point is. Superintendent Shannon and I both raised the issue that that the new contract cycle is looming and that we need to engage in negotiation. So it doesn't make sense to do this piecemeal when we're about to do this. However, this particular issue is first of all, is a short-term need. Like, we need to have this in place. We need to address this basically as the school year is starting. And the negotiations process could take months and months.
Yeah.
It will take months. I don't know if it'll take months and months, but it'll take months.
Yeah.
So this was sort of, and this wasn't the only sort of ask. There's going to be other asks around this, but this seemed to be something that we could sort of step up and address immediately as sort of a show of good faith, but also making sure that the district is properly staffed and covered, and the students are, you know, their safety, their health concerns are covered. So I actually honed in on that same issue that you're touching on. So that's sort of maybe a little bit additional background for you to consider.
When is the date you need to have it? First of all, do we need to vote on this item? Or is this, I mean, you have a strong job, so you can.
I would like to.
Okay,
If everyone else is comfortable with it, I personally would like us to vote on it
Okay.
because we had this meeting. I think it was a productive meeting. I also don't think that there's, especially given the feedback that the data we just got from our superintendent. I don't think it's very controversial either in terms of like whether or not we're offering something that is competitive enough to entice or encourage or incentivize nurses to come here. So in other words, if there's a place in Hanover, if there's a spot in Hanover on the same day that there's a need in Cohasset and I'm a substitute nurse, I'm thinking, well, you know, I'm obviously going to the higher end. And it doesn't have to be that extreme. I just gave the most extreme example, but you know, if we're more competitive than most of the surrounding districts, then it would follow, I think, that we would have the best chance of getting the substitute nurse that's available.
totally agree with that. So then my next question is, do we have another meeting before we have to make this decision, or is this it?
We are meeting again on September 3rd.
First day of school.
First day of school. I think we were hoping to make a decision so that we could start advertising for substitute nurses.
Okay.
With the more current rate,
Okay,
if you choose to vote for a more current rate, so that we have a sub pool available should one of our nurses be out
okay.
in the early days.
And then can this be something we consider annually?
Yes, I actually think we should look at all sub rates
Okay.
annually.
Great.
I mean,
Just
frankly, we
in
can change
general.
it anytime we want.
Yeah,
Yep.
but
But-
I think we should look at everything annually.
Okay,
Yeah, this wouldn't be like a contractual, this is just a,
Yeah,
you know, this is the district's policy in terms of what it's offering as far as rate.
good to go. Thanks for hearing me out.
Ms. Leslie?
How does the high end of that 180 to 200 compare with the contracted nursing service in terms of an hourly or daily rate? And then also, how does that compare then with if you were to sort of prorate salary of nurses? Just sort of thinking about making all of those things
Yeah.
equal and not creating sort of other issues around
Yeah.
payment or salary.
Yeah, so the contracted services would be approximately $100 per hour.
Okay.
So that's why it would be really beneficial for us to
Okay, yeah.
have a robust sub pool locally.
So that's like $650 now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then hourly rate of a nurse sort of depends on where they are on
Tenure,
the salary scale
experience, yes. Okay.
and
all right.
experience and level of degree, so that's harder to answer.
But that this rate would feel fair.
Yes,
Okay.
they are well aware of what the rates are. And they recommended somewhere around the $180 to $200 as well.
I mean, I agree, if this is a problem that can be solved in a way that's agreeable to everyone and doesn't tie us to anything in the long term that would be
Right.
not beneficial to the district. I think that
And it's fairly short money. If we're at 160 now, and even if we go to the high end of the spectrum that you had recommended,
Yeah.
you're talking about a $40 per diem increase
Yes.
for a situation that doesn't arise
Yeah,
like
no.
terribly frequently.
Mhm.
So something to think about.
Yep.
So I guess I've already sort of said my thoughts because I've interjected in other comments. So I don't know if if anyone has a recommendation in terms of the amount that we might want to raise it to, if people feel that they're comfortable raising the rates. I'd certainly entertain that.
Thinking the $200 range sounds right to me, but you guys feel comfortable with that? I'm about to make a motion.
I feel completely comfortable with that. If you'd like to make a motion, you can always do that and see if it's seconded. And then if it's seconded, we vote on it.
So I'd like to move that we raise the per diem rate in the category of the wonderful nurses here to $200.
Okay, so raising the rate of substitute nurse
substitute
pay to
rates.
$200 per day.
Correct.
All right, is there a second for that motion?
I will second.
Great, motion's been seconded by Ms. Leskey, motion was made by Mr. Carr. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And there are no abstentions, so the motion unanimously passes amongst the members that are present, so 3 members. And there are 2 members that are absent. So Superintendent Shannon, I would ask that you please implement that new rate of pay for our substitute nurses. And could you also please promptly notify the CTA of the decision? Although I do see that the either co-president or vice president of the CTA, I'm not sure what Ms. Chapman's position is, that she is
Yeah.
watching. So I'm
Great.
sure that message has gotten to them
Excellent.
as we made the decision.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think it's gonna help a lot. And however we can help our nurses keep our students safe, I think is important. So thank you.
Thank you for the recommendation.
Thank you. And we thank the CTA for coming forward and having that constructive discourse with us, which I think was really helpful. And we hope nurses will be happy with that outcome. So we'll move along here and we'll move into the facility section of the agenda. First item that we have in that section relates to the Joseph Osgood School roof and the update surrounding our submission for an accelerated repair project to the MSBA, which is the other type of program that they have. That we've already sent multiple applications into the core program for the larger scale project here at the middle high school that we're trying to get invited to. And then they also have an accelerated repair program, and that's for smaller but not minor projects. And one of them is our roof at Osgood, which can be leaky from time to time and is reaching the end of life. So Superintendent Shannon, would you mind giving us a little bit of an update on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is exciting because we have a few facility updates to give to you tonight, but the first is about the Osgood roof, as Chairman Cullen said. So our roof at the Osgood is 25 years old, and it is reaching the end of its technical life span. And as part of reaching that end of life, there was a statement of interest submitted And the MSBA is doing their due diligence and reaching out to many of the schools who submitted statements of interest for the accelerated repair program. And we had a meeting last week about the roof with the MSBA, and they are actually coming to Cohasset this coming Friday to go visit the roof and see the roof. And so there was a team, myself, Ms. Owen, Chair McClellan, Chris Senior, Nick Berardi, Jason Earls, and Amy Gaudet. We all met with the MSBA and had a really good conversation with them about the support from the town financially and how we would meet the financial responsibilities of the MSBA in making this project happen. And that we met about what the roof looks like and in the condition of the roof as well. And we heard from the MSBA about the process. In anticipation of the visit, a few of us did a field trip to the roof, actually, at the Osgood, which was great because we were able to really see what we were talking about. I think that was an important step for many of us. And I just want to say that though there is definitely a need for a new roof at the Osgood, it became really apparent that our facilities team does a really nice job being proactively responsible for trying to fix leaks before they become an issue or fixing them very quickly when they become an issue, repairing things that need repair after a leak happens. They do a really good job with the patching and the repairing and stemming of the leaks. We're really fortunate to have sort of their preventative maintenance cycle in place. But that said, it still does leak at times and there is a need. And so they will come out on Friday, they will visit the school, they will go up on the roof, the MSBA, and then we're going to show them some areas within the Osgood that are impacted by the leaks. They will then go off, they will consider all of the different accelerated repair statements of interest that they have received, and they will make a decision by October 30th about which ones get invited into their next cycle. Their accelerated repair program is a 2-year cycle, so if we don't get invited, then it is another 2 years. But we're hopeful that when they come out and they see that we are taking good care of it, but that there is a need, they will invite us in. They do put a lot of weight on both schools and towns that are willing to put in the work to maintain buildings as best they can, because that means that if they then spend their money on something new, they can have faith that the town and the district are going to keep it up after it's done. So hopefully all of the work that our facilities department has put in will benefit us. So we'll see what happens on Friday.
All right, and if we have any questions or comments on that, let's just wait until we get to the next, get through the next update here that our superintendent is going to lead us through as well, relating to our feasibility study here at the Cohasset Middle High School.
Yeah, so we are starting to move forward with our middle school, high school feasibility study with AI3 Architects as our partners. There are 2 tracks of work that happen simultaneously when you do a building feasibility study. And those 2 tracks are sort of the land and the facility track and then the educational track. And so the work has started on the land and the facility track. AI3 has sent their partner consultants out and they've started to do their work. They've done environmental site analysis, wetland delineation, ground penetrating, radar borings. I don't know what all of that really entails, but I know what they are. But I know that they're happening as well. And that when AI3 speaks here at school committee meetings and when they speak at the school facility committee meetings, they will explain all of that. But really, in the end, their report will take all of that information and it will talk to us and share what our land is like and how fruitful it is for ad reno or new building, what spots are better than others, what the grading would do for a new building, how they would approach that. So it gives them all the information they need to be able to think about how they would either renovate, add on, or build a new building on a site. So it's really important information to have. And we're grateful for all of the folks within the facilities department and the town who are helping to facilitate those processes in happening. The second track is the educational vision and programming track. And not that the borings aren't exciting, but this is the part that's a little bit more exciting for me. Because we're talking about teaching and learning and how teaching and learning drives the design of a facility and a new school building. And that work does not happen in isolation. It happens on multiple levels and with a lot of input. And so we kicked off this process on Monday with a leadership team of the district and AI3. And we built out really what the process is going to look like for us here in Cohasset. So we're going to be running some visioning sessions after a smaller district team does some school visits. We're going to do some visits of schools that are new facilities so that we can get a sense of what some new buildings look like. And we're going to go to some schools that have some really innovative and progressive teaching and learning happening within the building so that we can then come back and talk about how those two overlap and where the intersection is between teaching and learning and school design. After that, we're going to be hosting some visioning sessions that are inclusive of staff, students, parents, guardians, administration, school committee, and we're going to talk about what do we want for teaching and learning within the Cohasset Public Schools. Though we're really talking about a middle school and high school building, we're also talking about teaching and learning across all 4 schools. And while we're talking about it with regard to this project, it's also going to help drive our strategic plan that we create in the spring. So it's a really important process. And we will be inviting people from all of those stakeholder groups, including town committees, to be a part of that design process. And the folks who are part of that process, we are going to ask that they are able to commit to 3 sessions. We'll share the dates out before we ask for their commitment. They'll happen over the course of 3 mornings over a couple of weeks from 8:30 to 11:30 in the morning. So hopefully for family members out there who work, it might allow you to be a part of this and then go to work. And for our students and staff to be able to participate because it is during the school day. But those meetings are going to be really energetic, creative, collaborative. They're going to help us think about where we want to be as we move into the future of the Cohasset Public Schools. We also know that not everybody can make that type of a time commitment, and we want everybody to be as involved and as informed as possible. So we'll be holding community forums all along the way as well. And those will be held in the evenings so that folks who can't come during the day can attend. And we really are going to be encouraging folks to attend as much as they can. Those are one-off meetings. So if you can't attend all of them, you can come to one. We'll also, we didn't talk about this, but I would really like to record them so we can put them out into the world so that people who can't attend can also view it whenever they can. You know, our lives are busy, but it's important. And so that's going to bring us through sort of the end of the calendar year, which will then allow us to write an educational program and vision that when the time comes, if we're not invited into the MSBA process, and we have to resubmit an SOI, we'll be able to attach that and say that we've done that as part of this whole feasibility study. And then once that's created and as that's being created and as the land and facility track is happening, AI3 will start to do some schematic design as well and some ideation about what a new building could look like based on the vision that we're creating for teaching and learning. Having worked with AI3 before, they do a really great job listening to districts and considering what they're trying to do for students and then making a building that does that. And so that's the exciting part of this work, is seeing that come to life after you've designed like what a student learning experience should be. So we're excited about the work ahead. We're excited about for a lot of reasons, but also because it engages so many people within the community. And I think that that will strengthen our school district strengthen the work that we have ahead of us for the strategic plan and help sort of kick off where we're headed for the next 5+ years as a school district.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent Shannon. Any questions or comments relative to either the Joseph Osgood roof update or the feasibility study update? Mr. Carr?
So in the feasibility study, it'd be great to keep the school facilities committee really engaged there. That would be great. And then I recall that some of those tests you mentioned have been done by the town in the last 10 years and would be on file with town hall. Take a little research to go look for them, but to the extent it might be a savings in cost to us, and we've already done them and they're reasonable, we might think about looking that up.
Yeah, so those are great questions, and to share that AI3 is actually going to be presenting at the school facility committee meeting next week.
Great.
And Jason Earls has been a part of or invited to all of the meetings so far, and will definitely be invited to be a part of the visioning sessions as well. He and I met recently and talked a lot about all of this work. And I think because Nick and Jake oversee town and like they had to do an AHERA report,
Mhm.
and he had just done one, so they gave all that data to AI3.
Okay.
So I think that's
Great.
exactly,
That'd
you
be
know,
great.
I think wherever we can capitalize on work that's already been done, the value of Nick and Jake having being sort of the two prongs of the town is really helpful because they know all of those details. So great questions. Thank
That's
you.
great. And then on the roof, there are some state grant programs and we might consider solar over there. We should have the Alternative Energy Committee
Yes.
kind of engage with us.
They,
Maybe.
they, as part of the schematic design process,
Yep.
they require you
To have that,
to have that as part of the process.
that's great because that is an awesome roof for solar.
Yeah, it's a really interesting roof.
It is.
I don't know, I don't know why you would have been on the roof,
I've been on the roof.
but it has roof and then it's got roof down the sides and then it's flat here. So Nick kept referring to it as a bathtub, and it wasn't until I got up there that I was like, oh, it really is like a bathtub. I get it. So it's a very unique roof, which is interesting. So I can
Yeah.
see why it works for solar.
Cool.
No.
This is great.
That same question relative to what had been done in the recent past.
Yep.
And whether we needed to duplicate those efforts, that had been raised and I had looked into that and there was not, recent, results that would have,
Oh, you
allowed us-
did?
I
Okay.
did, yeah. So it was probably about a year ago now that, because when you
Ah.
just raised it, it triggered that memory in my head. Because when I was initially running around to different stakeholder groups in town, proposing before this even, it must have been a year ago because it was before the special town meeting, at which
Nice.
this was approved, the funds for which were approved in November last year.
Cool.
So I was presenting it to the groups and trying to get support for it. And that was one of the issues raised. So I went to confirm or dispel whether or not that happened and whether or not that information was available to us, and it wasn't.
Cool.
I don't remember who I asked, whether it was Nick Berardi or who it was, or maybe I went through Troy Randall at AI3, I'm not sure, but so that was looked at
Okay.
facially.
We did, the water department was a number of years ago interested in doing something about the hill with the tower. And they did borings and all this kind of stuff. And I remember seeing a map and it had the locations and it went all through the back field of this. So that's why I was like, wait, that might be sitting around somewhere collecting dust. But
It may be, but like, so a lot of like, and that may have been like maybe one thing that was done, but that obviously has to be around the entire perimeter of the school property.
glad we looked.
But I do remember addressing that. I can't remember the exact
Yeah.
response, but it wasn't, oh, we already have this, because if it was, then I would have notified AI3 that that's. Ms. Lusky?
Just an appreciation for keeping this particular ball rolling. I think this is a marathon and
Yes.
to continue to take steps forward on all of the projects around our school facilities is important. And I appreciate the attention to it because it's just one other thing to be doing and it will keep simmering. The boil is a long time from now.
Yes, and
Yeah.
and I think that's something for people to really be aware of, that we're talking about this and it's gonna build a lot of excitement, I think, and we're not even a part of the MSBA process yet. And so it is a marathon, not a sprint. So we need to have some patience and know that we're still doing good work, because even if we don't get a building for a much longer time, the educational vision that we're creating can still be implemented within the facility, not quite as well, which is part of why we want a new building, but we can still move forward with the teaching and learning piece of it.
Ms. Leskey, a few things that folks may want to know. The Accelerate Repair program and the core program are exclusive, right? So they don't compete with one another. So even though we have applications into both, if it's not as if we get invited to Accelerate Repair, then that makes it so that there's no way we can be invited to the core. What you can't do is be invited to the core for two different buildings in the same district in the same cycle. So that wouldn't happen. But ARP and core won't compete with each other. Another point is one that superintendent just alluded to, is that we have not been invited to the MSBA process, MSBA core program yet. We've applied to it 3 times. So we're going to get the decision on whether or not we're invited in connection with our 3rd application this December. And we had, having been, not invited twice, it was this committee and the school facilities committee's position that it would be wise to try and create our own feasibility study or move forward with our own feasibility study. So we weren't spinning our wheels, right? Because in a perfect system, this is like a 6 to 7 year project from the time they first start the feasibility study to the time you're cutting a ribbon. So meanwhile, all these years that we just apply to the core program in the beginning of the year and then wait a whole year, all those years are just additional years that we're matriculating students through our old building. So what we're trying to do is gain some information here on the front end, and it will benefit us in a number of different ways. The superintendent pointed out one of those is that it provides us academic programming and visioning information. It also will inform us in terms of it'll make the hypothetical a bit more material in terms of what our options are, what the costs would be, would we have to relocate students? Is a different site better? Is the site not good? Can we build next to this school while the kids are still going to school? All these questions will have more concrete answers because of the feasibility study. So it'll help breathe life and give form to whatever debate is coming our way, because it's unlikely that the community has the appetite to move forward with a project like this without the state subsidy. So it's relatively dependent on the MSBA, which will require their own feasibility study. But much like the point you raised, Mr. Carr, elements of this one will be transferable. And so it won't be like a complete loss, but it's even if there are some parts that we have to do over, those would be sort of the information gathering points that it would just be more information for us to use in ultimately building the school. So it's never going to be like a loss for us. I think it'd be hugely valuable. And also, if we aren't invited this year, which is certainly possible, as Superintendent Shannon pointed out, we would then be equipped with some of this information that we're getting in the feasibility study, say the academic visioning part of it, or educational visioning part of it, as well as probably other facets of the feasibility study. We're then going to be able to include that with our submission. So it makes us a bit more competitive of an applicant for a couple of reasons. One is it adds a lot of substance to our application in general. It also, and perhaps most importantly, it demonstrates to the MSBA that as a community, we're taking this very seriously because we've already invested hundreds of thousands of dollars looking into this. And that announces to them that it's likely that if invited, the community would have an appetite to move forward, because it happens where they invite a community and then because it has to then go to the town meeting and then the community votes it down. And that's obviously not ideal because then they've allocated those funds to it and other schools haven't been invited for that cycle. So that's just some additional information to think about. And yeah, it's a very exciting process. I'm extremely excited because personally, yeah, I feel like we started talking about this in 2019, 2020 in forming the school facilities committee. Now I just said to Superintendent Shannon the other day when we were at the meeting, it's nice to finally have these conversations. And, we're meeting with a designer about feasibility study that will give the community a lot of information about what we can do to bring our public schools into the next level here. And it's important because it's our most widely used public asset, right? The public school is the most widely used, physical asset that a town has. The most people come in and out of it every day. And if done right, there's probably a lot of community, I feel like, at-large resources that we can include, whether it's a performing arts center or a fitness center or, track that people come and use, things like that. So just some additional information. Thank you for the update, Superintendent Shannon. And we'll, of course, keep the community apprised of any updates as we move forward. The next section of the agenda is the community relations section of the agenda. We have a few interesting things to talk about here, or at least one primarily. I guess it's one topic that sort of subsumes a bunch of others. I'll sort of do this in tandem with our superintendent because this is something that was born out of discussions that we had with one another and Mr. Dial and some other parents. So I don't know if people are aware of this book called The Anxious Generation. It's a book written by a gentleman by the name of Jonathan Haidt. I'm not sure how to say his name, Haidt. And it explores the impacts of technology, particularly smartphones, on child development and the impact it's had on things like free play and socialization as kids grow. It's extremely relevant to a school district. So I had recently been made aware that Buttonwoods Books and Toys over in the Shaw's Plaza had put together a community discussion on this book. And it had been raised, I think, to both of us and some of the school principals as well about this book and the relevance of it. And I don't remember how I found out, but so I reached out to the folks that were organizing it, and I asked if they might somehow do it at the school, and as a committee we might somehow support it in some way by attending. It would be great to have our school leaders attend. So on September 18th at 7 p.m. in the auditorium here right next door, they're going to host this community discussion, and it's their event. It's not, the school committee is not putting this on, the public school is not putting this on, Buttonwoods is putting this on, and they're having a panel discussion with a few different individuals. There's a pediatrician, one of our Cohasset teachers is on the panel, one of our Cohasset students is on the panel, Ella Lynch, who actually sat on the superintendent search committee. She's done some independent research or something in this area, so she's on it, and a few others. And so our meeting will start at 6 that night. We're gonna try and put together deliberately a short agenda so that we can move, not adjourn, but all of us can sort of move over there and then participate in that discussion. And I think we've invited the building principals to be part of that as well. We feel like this is a nice gateway conversation to sort of participate in, because the schools would like to, and the school committees just put together their goals the other day, which we'll share with the public in the near future. This might be a good gateway discussion about, supporting student physical and mental wellness. And I think there are some teachers that support this idea as well. And I'm going to let our superintendent sort of discuss from the district's angle, sort of the perspectives and the various issues that might be implicated by this topic. But that's generally what this bullet point was, just to sort of make people aware that that's happening on September 18th, that the school committee, as many members as we can are going to sit in on that. we're not running it, but sit in on that and listen and participate, and as many building principals and administrators and frankly, anyone that wants to come and participate, will be there, but certainly our school leaders, and I know that our superintendent is planning on being there, and I believe our assistant superintendent is planning on being there. So, but I don't know, Superintendent Shannon, do you have anything? No pressure. I mean, I don't want to, but if you have maybe some points that you want to raise about, how this implicates the district and what our thoughts are on this, and what sort of considerations we're going to have moving forward on this.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you for that introduction. I'm gonna say something that's a little ironic in that, as I connect with my educator friends on Facebook, this is a book that a lot of educators are reading right now. It's become almost like the summer reading for all of my teacher friends. And it actually came to me not only through people I know in my personal life, but through email from a teacher in the district who asked both myself and Dr. Scollins to read the book. A high school teacher asked us to read it and to be able to have conversations about it. And that teacher is actually running a book club with other staff members at the high school. It is a required reading for our AP Lit students here at the high school. And there are teachers actually at all levels within the district and all of the administrators who are reading it and starting to have conversations about it. It does, as you shared, it has implications for us at all levels from pre-K through grades 12. I mean, my children are in high school, but we were part of that first group of parents maybe who started to hand our phones to our kids when we were sitting at restaurants and introducing our preschoolers to iPhones and how to move and manipulate things. And now my kids are old enough that they are feeling, and I am seeing the impact on them of social media. And so as we think about this, and as Jonathan Heighton, I agree, I'm not quite sure on how to pronounce his last name, as he talks in the book about how it, along with this idea that we need to protect children from all of the dangers in the world, whether they be physical dangers or online dangers, that they have created a generation of kids who are worried and anxious and stressed, and parents who are worried and anxious and stressed. And so what does that look like in terms of creating purposeful play opportunities where kids learn how to interact with one another in a way that isn't always so micromanaged by adults? What does that look like for kids at a middle school or a high school level who have to learn how to interact one-on-one, one-on-two, one-on-five outside of a screen? And so as we think about all of those things and what it means for how our students go through the day here in school, what we do for teaching and learning, those are big, important decisions. And so we're going to be engaging over the course of the year in those conversations as a district, but we also want to invite families into those conversations because it extends outside of the school day. We can talk about what purposeful play looks like and what phone-free environments look like from, 8:15 to 2:55 at the middle school and the high school, or 9 to, I don't know, the end of your school day at the elementary schools. But when they go home, what does that look like? And so how do we collaborate as a community in helping our students have healthier, what was the word that we used yesterday? Technology well-being, digital well-being. How do we have digital well-being in addition to emotional, social, and physical well-being? And that is Mr. Dial's word, not my word. I stole it, told him I was going to steal it and use it everywhere. And so we invite people to come on the 18th because it does kick off the conversation. We don't know where all of this is going to go, but we do know that the time has come for us to be having these conversations
Yes.
as a full community. We all want what's best for our children, and having these conversations is going to be what's best for our children. So it could result in shifts in what teaching and learning looks like in the classroom. It could result in policy or handbook changes at the school level, whether that be elementary or high school. But no matter what, there will be conversations about all of it, and we are going to invite lots of voices into it. We're not predicting what anything might be because we're just at the beginning. We're just all reading the book, but it's an important endeavor. And the fact that it's coming from students like Ella, the fact that it's coming from teachers, I think that really means that we also need to listen because they are the folks who are on the front line. Our students are the ones who are most impacted by this. And when they are speaking up and saying, we need to pay attention, we need to pay attention. And so again, September 18th at 7 p.m. in the high school auditorium, middle school, high school auditorium. I hope that many families will attend, and Buttonwoods is selling the book. And so please, if you want to read along with us, please go to Buttonwoods and pick up a copy.
Absolutely. Any comments from the committee?
Agree that it's super important work. It's going to be a difficult conversation. I think this is an issue that's extraordinarily fraught from an emotional level, from a perspective around technology provides so much, but also how do you use it in a way that is safe and helpful. So I'm looking forward to this journey.
And I just would add that yes, some of the conversations will be hard, but even I think it's an important conversation for us as adults. I know after I read parts of this book and I thought, oh my goodness, I need to change my habits. Because I have become sort of a slave to my phone and noticed that when I didn't even bring my phone to the dinner table and got up and went to get it. And I thought, why do I really need this at the dinner table? We're not looking at them. We actually were having conversation. Why did I need it there like a safety net? So while we're talking about this with regard to students, I think it's an important conversation for all of us, no matter how old or young we may be.
Well, and as models, that's a lot of what I've been thinking about. How do I model good technology, digital well-being for my children?
Yes.
And when I'm out and about,
Yeah.
everyone's looking.
They are. Yeah. So thank you.
I guess I have one question, sorry. I think it's a great topic. How did it end up over here? Buttonwoods asked to use the auditorium, or how did we?
Yes. So they had actually, they were thinking the auditorium would be ideal, but then there was some issue about like fees and custodial workers, as we always
Yeah, yeah.
require for any sort of
Yeah.
outside group. Because this was directly linked to an educational issue and that we found the benefits and honestly, the necessity of having school leaders at the event.
Yeah.
We made that more accessible. We offered that as like basically as we would to sort of a school event, even though it's not a school event, it's not sponsored by us, we're just trying to.
Yeah.
We're trying to encourage everyone to participate in this discussion because we want community to share their perspectives as we're entering these discussions. They were originally doing it like somewhere else, but they did want to do it at the auditorium. They're also, as of like, when I spoke to them 3 weeks ago, and this isn't until September 18th, I think they had like 35 or 40 people signed up already.
Wow.
So there should be a big deal of people and if I could just say, if you are watching this and this issue interests you, I mean, I would really implore you to read the book and, go to Buttonwoods, buy it. I'm reading it. I think Ms. Lesky's reading it. Both of our superintendents have read it. Building principals are reading it. It's really compelling and it makes you think. And, I think there are going to be some serious discussions this year about, our policies and what we might want to do in terms of helping the kids a little bit more. So might arm everyone with a little bit of information, but that's how it came to be.
Got it. Great.
Okay, so more on that at a later time, but that was the sort of introduction to that. We're going to be talking about that throughout the year. Moving on, I'm going to try and streamline this as much as possible now. It's 7:30. I want to keep moving. I don't think there are any reports from subcommittees because it's the summertime. I don't think subcommittees have really been too active. So we'll move right through that. The first item for consideration under school committee governance is appointment of our former committee member, no longer committee member, Mr. Paul Kearney. He indicated that he'd like to serve on the school facilities committee now that he's no longer on the school committee. They're in need of a school committee nominee. So I'd ask for a motion to nominate Mr. Kearney, a second for that motion, and I'd like to vote on that motion if we could.
So,
Okay,
Second.
motion made by Ms. Leskey. Is there a second?
second,
Seconded by Mr. Carr. All in favor of appointing Paul Kearney to the school facilities committee
Aye.
as the school committee nominees? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously amongst the members that are present, vote of 3. I will notify Mr. Earls that we have formally nominated and named Mr. Kearney that body.
Great.
And I'm sure he'll be happy about that. So the bulk of this section has to do with policy adjustments that we had to make. So we've all seen the email that our superintendent sent out recently relative to the Office of Civil Rights investigation or review of our Title IX procedures, and there were some findings that we were deficient in some ways, many ways that we had already addressed as, while that investigation that was a protracted investigation because it started before COVID. But they are requiring a number of things from us. One of those things that we will need to do, and which we probably would have done anyway, because anytime there's a change in law, we always do this, and we see these sort of policy changes a lot throughout the year. Not necessarily with regard to Title IX, but anytime there's a change in law, like our assistant superintendent is very good about identifying that and notifying us. And so really we have, about a dozen policies that are implicated by this, and we need to adjust them. If they're listed as first reads, this is something that we'd like to vote on today because it's really not that controversial because it is mandated.
Mhm.
We don't have a choice in terms of the language, and so Dr. Scollins has inserted the necessary language into these. I don't know if you've had a chance to look and you have any comments, just fire at will. Dr. Scollins, I will just note that on policy ACE, which I believe is listed as I-9, which is non-discrimination on the basis of disability, I think that we should probably change the title because I don't think handicap is the preferred sort of nomenclature anymore. I think it should be
You know what, it's
disability.
interesting that, exactly, so I had a question about that too. I took that one off of mask, so I did have that same question, because that is the language that was there, so I will look at that and we can also bring back. What happened was that when you do one policy, it triggers so many more because it references them, and then I had to go back in and make sure that they had it. I did question that, and I should have made note of that.
Well, if that is how it is, then, I mean, these things, we need to make sure that they're compliant, right?
Right.
So if that's how it is, that's how it is.
Yeah.
I
It doesn't
I
mean we
noticed
can't
that,
change it in the future.
right,
I flagged it
and
myself.
sometimes it's disability, and so, I don't know, just,
I know.
so you're aware of it, that's fine. There's
Yeah.
also, on ACAR, which is non-discrimination on the basis of sex under Title IX,
Yeah.
including sex-based harassment, which I don't see on the agenda, and I'm not,
I don't know if that was a mistake just didn't get on here, because I did send it to you, because that's actually the one that's driving all of it.
right.
We don't have it.
Right.
And we need to have it.
Right, so
So-
there you go, so that's probably why it was on there, because it's
Yeah.
not a revised, it's a new.
It's new. So I gave you a document that laid out what was new, what would happen. Like, we have some that are going to be combined now, they're going to actually be eliminated.
Yes.
Because, so I wasn't sure how you wanted me to present this to you, but I thought at least you have that document in front of you.
I don't think so, and by the way, on that ACAR, like
Yeah.
on the entirely new one, in, like, just above Roman numeral 3, like in the second section, Roman numeral number 2, but in the end of it, there's some like funky fonts, like
I
formatting.
saw that too. I'll go back.
I think it should just be,
It may have just transferred over.
yeah. I think it should, I think what happened is it should just be a simple quotation mark.
Yeah.
It's
I'll
the
check.
term relevant, so all the characters there should just be replaced with
Yep.
quotation mark, but
Okay.
you know, and I don't know, maybe there are others that I missed. I don't think that you need to present on this
Okay.
any further than just confirming that this is all, I really don't.
Yeah,
Because
no, I get it.
if you can just confirm for us that the changes you made are not your own, they are prescribed by law.
Correct. And I went through, and there were some even that Mass hadn't changed yet, but because they were triggered through other ones, I added, you'll see there's one or two policies where I've just put in red what those new words are.
I saw that.
I did put the old policy there so you could see. It's really just those two terms. And then those two terms will be added to our non-discrimination clause. And so that also I need, because we need to be able to put that up on the website and link it on our letterhead and do all sorts of stuff. So, anyway,
So-
that was really just, that was just the shift.
This was really just trying, guys, this was just trying to fast track something we have to do. And we have to do it for a number of reasons, but certainly because of the recent review of
Right.
our
And we
policies.
now have, always had a grievance process. Now we have civil rights. And you don't have to vote on those are just our procedures. We now have Title IX grievance procedures that we have to have. So those are all just kind of, and they're referenced in there. There's no links because I can't do any links until we approve them.
That's fine.
And then I get them up on the website
Yeah.
and then they get linked. And then we let OCR know that that's done.
Yeah, and it's kind of important that we do this before the school year starts. So that's why, and this is our last meeting before the school year starts. So that's why we're sort of trying to fast track this where it's really not, there's no room for really debate on it. But having said there's no room for debate, would anyone like to
Or if you picked up.
air any objections or
Okay.
anything like that?
Anything you pick up is great.
AC, the non-discrimination policy, including harassment and retaliation. In the first sentence, there's an extra period or a period that
Okay.
shouldn't be there.
Okay.
So where it says for all school community members, then there's a period that is free from forms of discrimination.
Oh.
And that period just needs to be.
Okay, great. That's you. Okay. I'll fix that.
It's quite a fine, Ms. Leslie.
It was the first
Good.
one I read, so my eyes were fresh.
I
love
see.
it.
I see.
I had to walk away a few times. It took me several days. to
Oh, it's
do this.
tough.
I was
It's
gonna
tough.
That's not how
say-
my brain
I was gonna
necessarily
say-
works.
I would like to just acknowledge the amount of time, the hours, the energy, the rereading again that Dr. Scollins has put into this process. She has done an incredibly careful and thorough job, and I greatly appreciate it. And the other thing to note is that she's also worked sort of closely with our attorney because of all of the OCR piece, so it's had that extra layer of review to make sure that we really are legally aligned with all of the new laws.
Well, thank you, Dr. Scollins.
Welcome.
And this isn't the only time you've done this, so we appreciate that, you know? And I think at least last year you were a member of the policy subcommittee, I think, and you
I
sat on
think I
those,
am.
sat through those meetings.
All good.
Okay,
Important,
so,
important.
is there a motion to approve the changes to the Title IX policies outlined in the agenda in addition to adding the new policy that was presented by our Assistant Superintendent of Schools tonight?
Can I make one statement, though? JIC is not part of this discipline. I just I'm sorry, that is not, we'll deal with that another time, but there was no language change specifically for this. So I'm gonna take that, if you take that one off, I would appreciate that.
Okay, that's a good point. So
Yep.
is there a motion to approve the revisions to all of the policies listed in the agenda and less JIC, which is I2,
discipline.
I think, I3. And adding the ACAR policy that was presented by Dr. Scollins.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Mr. Carr. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Leskey. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion passes
you.
unanimously amongst the members that are present, a vote of 3 school committee members. So,
Thank you.
Dr. Scollins, please go live with those.
Thank you, we will.
That's, I'm sure that's a bit of a
Before
relief.
school starts.
It's important.
It is.
Okay, so moving on, I don't think there are any, Mr. Carr, no minutes, right?
I'm working on it, I swear. It's me, it's not Kathy.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah,
No problem at all. And we,
Okay.
and, you know, just take the moment while I'm thinking of it to thank Ms. Bach for all her help that she gives us, including letting us know whether we could be heard this,
That's
you know,
right.
earlier when we started the meeting.
that's right.
Because it's good to know that. Future agenda items. Does anyone have any thoughts? There actually, there are gonna be a lot. But maybe best to wait till everyone's here. I don't know.
Yeah.
But if there's something that's really pressing, just lay it on me and I'll write it down and Miss Shannon and I will make sure we incorporate it into an agenda in the future. So, Mr. Carr, we had just, so Mr. Dial,
Yep.
Ms. Leskey and I just formulated, as you know, the goals
Yep.
yesterday.
Wonderful.
And those goals will, they're gonna drive a lot of agenda items.
Awesome.
So we're gonna have to probably, I'll, you know, once we get that, Ms. Leskey's finalizing it, then we'll present it to the public. And once we're talking about it in a meeting, I think that will probably spark a lot of ideas in terms of what agenda items we can add. But that's not to say that someone can't suggest them tonight. So anyone?
Could we have a executive session as it pertains to strategy for collective bargaining sooner rather than later?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Anything else?
Nope.
Ms. Leskey?
If we're holding on all of those
On the goals
wonderful
related ones?
ideas that
Yeah.
we.
You know why? 'Cause
Those
I-
are very front of mind at the moment.
you know why? Because I'd like to get, if there's other, like, if you say something and it makes someone think, oh, we can actually make that better by doing it this way. I just like to get everyone else's thoughts on that because of the goals. So I think when we present the goals, which will be very soon, I think maybe that's when we discuss those.
You know, I had a brief exchange with Megan Berry, who's the president of the CEF, and this last school year's grant cycle was absolutely exceptional. And it would be really interesting for the public. I know they do a lot of work to disseminate the information about how they allocate funds, but to do it as part of the school committee as well, very,
So CEF presentation?
a CEF presentation
Okay.
perhaps.
That'd be nice.
That'd be great if we did because.
Or even just if it's not the CEF, maybe some of the grant recipients talking about the implementation of their
I'll
grants.
give you one and the same. I think we
I
should
would say
have
maybe a little
recent
bit.
grants and the CEF,
Yeah.
you know, officers there to introduce them and talk about it a little bit. Sure, we can do that. Okay. I'm not gonna get into any additional agenda items now because I think we'll just wait, like I said, till the goals, meeting. No reason to move in executive session. I don't think so, no. So that leaves, the, one of the most favorite agenda items, adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting at this time?
So moved.
Motion's
Second.
been made by Mr. Carr and seconded by Ms. Leskey.
Yeah.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for
Thank you.
participating or watching this recording. And we will see you in 2 weeks on September 3rd, 2024, 6 p.m.
Be done.
Thank you.